Well, hi. We're going to continue on my stroke journey, and I'm going to explain how I got rid of a lot of these comorbidities. Okay, so I'm home. I got rid of the walker. I need to get my balance. My balance was severely out of whack. I mean, one side just didn't want to do what it was supposed to do, and I would walk to the left. So I started walking up and down the hall backwards because that gives you your balance back. When I got to where I could do this without holding onto the wall pretty good, I then moved to the lower level, to the main level, where from my front door it went through my foyer, through my living room to the fireplace. That was that was probably a good, I don't know, 30 feet. I started walking backwards from the door to the fireplace and back. And I would do 3 repetitions of this 3 times a day. I got my balance back. I didn't need a cane. I didn't need anything. Now I was ready for the serious stuff. I had my husband take me to the grocery store. And I got a cart and I did some retail therapy. I started on one side of the store and went up and down every single aisle. And I did this at least 3 times. And while I was there, I'd shop for produce for dinner or lunch, whichever the case was, and had fresh produce every single day, and got to where I could walk without hanging on. I didn't even have to touch the railing when I went upstairs anymore. So that took care of the balance problem. Now I had to get rid of all these diseases. I went on a Mediterranean diet, but I took it one step further. I took everything white out of my diet. No bread, no potatoes, no pasta, no rice, no salt, no sugar. I mean, I became erratic about it. But I knew that it was a matter of my life. Did I want to live another 10 or 20 years? Did I want to live another 5 years, or did I want to die? So I put myself on a strict diet. I replaced sugar. I bought stevia. I researched the different kinds of sweeteners. Stevia was the one that was natural from the actual stevia tree. And so I went with that. And I got to where I could use it for everything. And I didn't need a lot. So I had battled that, and I took the glipizide and I cut these little teeny tiny pills in half with a pill cutter. And I was taking 2.5 milligrams a day instead of 5 twice a day. And when I told my provider at 8 months after I was out of the hospital, she said, I think you need to get rid of them. She did my A1C, it was normal. She said, yeah, you need to get rid of them. So I wasn't on any more diabetic medicine. I was no longer diabetic. And I had to keep it that way for at least a year so that I wouldn't be diagnosed as diabetic. Now I had to get rid of this high blood pressure and this AFib. Well, I knew the AFib was not really AFib. Being a nurse, I knew if you have high blood pressure, you automatically have an irregular heartbeat. Anybody's blood pressure goes up, their heartbeat becomes irregular. It's the body's reaction. So I knew I had to get that blood pressure under control and get rid of that irregular heartbeat. So I did. I got the blood pressure down to like 150 something. The irregular heartbeat went away. But now I had to get that blood pressure under control. And I fought this, 2 years. At least 2 years, 2 to 3 years. If I would get upset about something, my blood pressure would zoom all the way up to 180. And I'm thinking, I've got something's causing this, and I got to find out what's causing it. It isn't my heart that's doing it. It's an external effect. It's something external that causes this. Is it stress? What is it? I started taking notes, started keeping a chart. When my blood pressure would go up, when I would feel upset about something, I'd take my blood pressure and it would go way up. When I was happy and relaxed, it was normal. So I started thinking, my provider kept saying, you have essential hypertension. Well, what is essential hypertension? Essential hypertension means they don't know what causes it. That's what it means. In medical terms, that's I don't know what causes your high blood pressure. So I had to find out what caused it, and I thought I did. It was stress, any kind of stress. How do I control this stress? I knew that deep breathing would do it somewhat, but I didn't know how effective I could make that. Well, in my research, I discovered IIN, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. It's in New York. They have an online program, 6 to 8 months. I signed up and took this program while I'm recovering from my stroke. I found out a lot of things. I graduated. I became certified as an integrative nutrition coach. And I thought, but I don't want to coach others. I want to coach me. I want to heal me. And I needed more than one kind of medicine to do that. And that's what I got. Through integrative nutrition, I found cortisol. Cortisol is it's your fight or flight reaction from your body. When you get upset about something, your blood pressure goes sky high because of the cortisol. The cortisol in your body goes up, so your blood pressure gets high. How do you keep this cortisol down, or how do you bring it down? Well, IIN taught me a trick. Deep breathing is fine, but you have to do this in cycles. So you breathe in for 8 seconds, the count of 8. You hold it for the count of 4. And you breathe out for the count of 8 and breathe out from your diaphragm. You do this in cycles of 3. Amazingly, my blood pressure would come down to normal. And I thought, wow, that easy, that fast. Well, it wasn't bringing my blood pressure down. It was lowering my cortisol. That's what it was doing. It was putting a stopgap on that cortisol going up. This is an important tool that I learned to use. And I kept doing this. Every morning when I got up, I would check my blood glucose, and then I would sit in a chair and just relax for a couple of minutes, drink some water. Then I would do that deep breathing for a cycle of 3, and then I'd take my blood pressure, and it would be perfectly normal. I had learned to control my blood pressure. Now, the neuropathy that they said I had to do something with that. I went and got some cheap hand cream. In fact, I went to Aldi's and bought the cheap face cream. And I got compression socks. Now, I didn't get the cheap ones that they sell at Walmart. I bought them at Walmart, but they weren't in the sock section. I went to the pharmacy and bought the Medipeds. Being a nurse, I knew that compression socks were important, and 15-20 compression is ideal. So I bought the Medipeds, and I wore them every single day. I bought some cotton ankle socks. I bought a EMS stimulation pad. And that's electrical muscle stimulation pad. And I started every day. At night, I would take a shower, dry my feet good, coat them good with that cheap face cream, put on my cotton socks, and sleep with them on. In the morning when I got dressed, I put on my compression socks and wore them every single day. And I would use my compression pad. I would sit at my desk while I was doing my courses through IIN, and I'd do 3 cycles of that EMS pad for 20 seconds each cycle. And it would stimulate my legs. And what it does is it brings back the nerves. You have neuropathy because your nerves are dying. You want to revive them before they're dead. And they will grow back. They actually regenerate. And I did this for 3 months, and it worked. The sarcopenia was a little bit harder. I had to do chair exercises with my feet. I had to bring each foot up on its toe and hold for the count of 5, then the other one, and I got to where I could do this rather quickly, and exercise in the chair as well with soup cans, because resistance exercises is what helps sarcopenia in elders. Resistance bands are wonderful, but don't overdo it. So I didn't bother with the resistance band, Chad. I wanted to make sure that I could walk good and do everything else. And I did. I managed to do away with all the comorbidities they gave me. I didn't have diabetes, I didn't have high blood pressure, I didn't have AFib, I didn't have neuropathy, I didn't have sarcopenia. And you know what? I feel better than I have ever felt in my life. I realize that a lot of what happened to me was because I worked in a hospital on a floor and I was under stress all the time. And you don't eat right. You grab something on the run. They say, okay, you can go down to lunch. Well, yeah, you can go down to lunch, but you know you've got this, and this to do when you come back from lunch. So you just go to the cafeteria and grab a meatball sandwich or whatever, and you're eating it on the way back up to the floor, and and you're drinking a lot of coffee. In fact, I got coffee poisoning one time. And because you drink coffee that's been sitting there all night long, and nursing is a high-risk vocation, I'm going to tell you. At any rate, I did get rid of all my comorbidities. I got myself back to normal. And I was so grateful that I was able to do that. And I'm going to go on to explain what happened next, because next I had to have cataract surgery, and that's going to be my next little video. And that's an experience, let me tell you. Join us, and I will have fun explaining.